McIntosh from Sunshine Coast Woman, and I'm here today with Chris Childs. Chris is a businesswoman, she's a wealth warrior, she's a mentor, a philanthropist, she is a mother and a grandmother. Chris, it's a pleasure to be here today at the Think Money office. This place is just so much fun. Is it always like this?
Yeah, it is actually.
It is. It's amazing. All right, I'm going to let you talk. What I know of you, Chris, is that you grew up on a cattle/grain farm. And
Yes.
Can you tell us what that was like growing up?
My father bought the property, or my parents bought the property when I was only 5 years old, and it was a weekend farm right through until I was 9. And my brother was killed in a car accident a day after his baby girl was born, and Mum and Dad didn't handle that very well, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they decided to actually move out to the cattle property full time, and my sister and I went to boarding school. So we were cattle property weekend and school holiday girls. But I reckon I was born a city slicker. I didn't particularly like it. It's very hard work working on a cattle property. I take my hat off to anyone
Who does it?
who does that. It's just amazing.
Did your mum and dad have you out working in the fields and
Yeah.
herding the cows?
Yeah, it was like a 3 a.m. start and a 10 p.m. finish.
Wow.
The paid workers got to start at 6 and finish at 6, but the family tended to work a lot harder than that.
Wow, that's amazing. Another interesting piece that most people wouldn't know about you, Chris, is you're very creative. That I read that you were actually into designing and dressmaking. How did that come about?
Well, actually, it was funny. I had got married very young and had 3 beautiful children. And then whilst I was at home, I started to make them dolls and doll clothes. And someone said they'd like to buy some, and I made a few for friends. And they suggested the clothes were beautiful, and they said you should be making dresses. And I went, I can't sew. But they sort of pointed out, well, dolls' clothes and people clothes are the same. So I started designing and creating clothes, and I developed up into bridal wear. My evening wear and bridal wear were actually put in McDonald and East at the time. That was a place like Myers that went broke, hopefully not due to my clothes. However,
that would have been wonderful.
So I did that, went into a lot of competitions. I actually won 1989 Designer of the Year, and then decided I'd had enough. I'd reached all of the goals and milestones, and looked for a different career path and chose money.
Well, isn't that exciting? That's wonderful. Where did that love of helping others through property come from?
Well, actually, it started as I started as a financial planner. So for 10 years, from 1990 to 2000, I was a financial planner. At the end of 10 years, I looked around and decided it wasn't really giving me the financial success I wanted. So I retired and sold my business, and retirement lasted 6 weeks. At the end of 6 weeks, house was clean, freezer was full, and I was bored. So I looked around to see what I wanted to do, and I discovered mortgage broking, and I fell in love with the fact that I could actually make a difference to people's lives by teaching them how to manage their money and pay their debts off really quickly.
And that's a valuable thing to be able to do.
And that's how the property side started accidentally, was Jack and I started investing in property. And after a while, our clients started to see we were accumulating property and said, we want to do what you're doing. So in 2007, Think Money was born.
That's unbelievable. So you've been here since 2007, and I've seen this business grow immensely. So I imagine you're helping just loads of people achieve success nowadays.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey, and it comes down to Think Money doesn't actually sell property. We actually teach people how to manage money and how to set their finances up to enable them to buy property. So it's an education company more so, and we do things like goal mapping and all of the headspace stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that's hard to get your head around sometimes. Did you always believe you could be successful, or did you ever have any self-doubt?
We've certainly gone through successful times and non-successful times, and I think as a business person, you're always aiming high. Even now, I wouldn't like we don't sort of sit here and think, oh, well, we're hugely successful. We just do what we do. Hard question. But no, I probably am not a self-doubter. I think it's all about your mindset and what you're trying to achieve.
Well, that's good to know, because I know personally I have a lot of self-doubt at times, and I know a lot of women struggle with that. But so it's nice to hear that, you know, when you're focused, you can push that aside. So.
Yeah, I think it's all about goal setting. Because if you set yourself small achievable goals and you achieve them, there is no need for self-doubt or like the self-doubt that people have is often either they're trying to set themselves too high a goal or a standard. If you do it one bite, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah, isn't that's a good motto to have. So, you know, life is this crazy thing that, you know, we have ups and downs. Have you had any difficulties along the way, like in your journey, and what do you do to deal with difficult times?
I think we all do. You know, like if you don't let them get you down, though, it's a case of learning. If you look at every successful person out there, they've gone through usually to hell and back, and they've got hundreds of no's before they've got yeses, and they've had many failures before they've succeeded. So it really is a case of not putting yourself through the ringer too much. Of course you're going to choose things that don't work. There's been many things that I've done that haven't worked, and it's only putting one foot in front of the other and continuing that actually makes you successful. If you stop and quit at every adversity, you will get nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So you build that resilience along the way.
Yes.
That's good. Now, I know that you're blessed to be a mother and a grandmother. Growing up with your children, was there any advice that you gave them? Any pieces of, you know, gems along the way?
Well, actually, my advice is probably not hugely sage. I had 3 rules for my children. Rule number 1 was they were never allowed to get married.
I wish we all could control that. I know.
And I said to them, if you do get married, go overseas, find a little chapel in France and send photos. And then the second piece of advice was never have children. And I said, if you have children, I'm going overseas, send photos. And I said, the third piece of advice is never come home. Tell me where you are, I'll send money. Oh. Now, the reason for that, my husband used to have a heart attack when I'd say that, but my reason for that was I was married young, had children young, and I realised that I wanted more at the beginning for my kids. So those rules are in place to get them to look broader. And my children have diversified. They've broken all the rules, but they've diversified and they've done amazing things. I've got one of my daughters lives in London and travels all over Europe as a strong lady. Another one runs a really successful creative agency. My husband had 1 child before we were married, and she's a burlesque dancer in Melbourne. And our youngest was our son, and he was an adventurer and taught scuba diving and whatever, and unfortunately he committed suicide in 2011. So there was a little bit of adversity we had to get over.
Oh wow, that's big.
Yeah.
You can't get through that easily, surely. I mean...
No. I've always said, though, that something good comes of everything. And I thought when that happened, I thought, wow, that's going to be one thing that I could never say that of. But I must admit it actually changed our lives. Obviously it changed our lives for the worse on losing him. However, it actually made me stop and reassess our lives and to see where we were going and what we were doing. And it's because of him and that tragedy that Think Money is what it is today. Because I actually stopped and regrouped, and I had 3 choices. I could have climbed into a cave and never come out.
In a heap, exactly.
I considered selling the business, so I sat down. I actually read a book called The Passion Test, and it was by Janet Atwell. And in that book, it sort of gets you to refocus and set your goals and dreams and work out what your actual passions are. And when I did the passion test, out of the 5 passions they tell you to look for, 3 of them were this business. So I figured I wasn't finished yet. So I actually reinvented the business at that point. So in 2012, in January, we relaunched Think Money, and it is what it is today because of that focus that that event gave me.
So he's part of the success, which
Yes.
is beautiful and I've seen the gorgeous photo in your office, so every day you get to look at it and you're inspired by him.
That's
at
it.
least. So that gives me a chill. That's beautiful. So what do you do to relax?
Spend time with my grandson. He's an absolute little treasure, actually. They always say if you knew how good grandchildren were, you would have them first. So hopefully I try and spend time every day with him, and my husband and I just adore him. We probably grandson and travelling, so we do a lot of travelling and love it.
Yeah, that's lovely. And you're blessed to be able to, and by building a successful business, you've enabled yourself to, have that option, which is awesome. Is there a motto that Chris lives by, that you live by,
Yeah, give more than you take.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my personal ones too. Yeah.
I just find the more you give, the more flows back. And if you help and you do no harm, it is what it is. You just... people know when you're trying to do something for yourself and when you're trying to do something for them. So that's our motto. And the more you help people, the more successful you become.
Yeah, I do like that. And you certainly help a lot of people in many different ways. If someone's in a difficult financial situation, how could you help them turn it around? Like, what piece of advice to start with? I mean, I know there's a long road that they can take, but what piece of advice would help them now?
Getting organised, and don't bury your head in the sand. It's not going to go away. So if you can get organised and get good advice, and you have to be really careful who you take your advice from. I always say, if you look at who they are and what they have, or where they've been, or what they're doing, if that's where you want to be, or where you want to get to, or what you want to have, they probably know how to get there. So it's oftentimes people will take advice from people at a barbecue, or the guy over the back fence, and unfortunately even the most caring people can give you such harmful advice. Like, parents often give such bad financial advice to their children, just because someone has a title behind their name, be it an accountant or a solicitor or a bank manager, doesn't necessarily mean that they have the right advice. So you have to actually look at them themselves. Is your financial planner driving around in an old beat up car with a surfboard on the top? Does he really know what he's doing?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So you look at who you're taking advice from.
Yeah.
That would be my first piece of advice.
That's good. I like that one. So sometimes people get stuck in a mindset, like, I can never be rich, or I can't afford it. How can they change that mindset? Is there a way, a method? What's your advice on that?
I'm really lucky in the sense that I wake up every day happy and excited. And it's a neural pathways thing. So we actually teach here goal mapping and all about the neural pathways, and how you actually become successful is 80% mindset and 20% sweat. So it really is a choice. And the more you choose to be happy and excited and look for the positives in life, the more you wear down the road bumps in your neural pathways, and you head in the right direction. It is all chemistry and science. It really is. So it's definitely, mindset is a choice. And if you're mixing with the wrong people, your mindset will go the wrong way. So if you speak negatively, if you mix with negative people, if you are nasty or mean or pick on people, your mindset is going to suffer, and you can't be successful if you are doing that sort of thing. So you have to be happy, excited, look for the positives, set goals, and reward yourself when you achieve them.
That is really good advice. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. What are your goals personally for the long, short-term future?
Well, apparently you can't set goals for other people. My goal would be to have a granddaughter.
Yeah. In this case, you might be able to encourage,
Yeah. Our goals are to travel, and we achieve those goals every year. So we try and do at least 3 or 4 big holidays every year, which is great, and spend time with our grandson. We're probably at that luxury end of life now where we've sort of set all of our targets and achieved where we want to be financially. Now I just love helping people. Jack and I choose to work. We could retire, but we love what we do, so we're passionate about it. So we can keep doing what we're doing. So our goal really is to have a hugely successful business, and the way to do that, and my rules for that, is to have aesthetically happy staff and aesthetically happy clients.
That's fabulous. So, what led you to the beautiful Sunshine Coast? Just out of interest.
We had a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Actually, I was born in Rockhampton and met my husband up there. He was travelling through, and we got married and we stayed there with family, built up businesses, and my husband had holidayed here all of his life. He lived in Toowoomba, and we just sort of set a 10-year goal to move to the Sunshine Coast. We set that in 1997, and we moved here in 2007, so we nailed it.
Stuck to it.
We actually got here 3 months early.
That is brilliant. That is great. So what is your favourite place? If you have one or many, what's a favourite spot on the Sunshine Coast?
Home.
Home.
Yeah, we've got a beautiful home with a deck over the river, and to sit there and play with Jackson on the deck with his cars, and that's
happiness.
Heaven on a stick.
Absolutely. Well, look, Chris, you are truly an amazing, inspirational Sunshine Coast woman, and I just thank you so much for your time today. We're all really proud to have Chris on the Sunshine Coast, and thank you.
Thank you.